Hi everyone! Today I want to talk to you about improving your photography skills and actually specifically the best places to go and practice. So, although you've probably realized by now, I've had to realize this a few times before, there's no cheat code, there's no fast lane, there's no life hack to actually getting really good at something. The only way to get there is to practice because practice makes perfect. That's just a fact of life. So the same goes for photography. You just have to go out and shoot again and shoot again and again, and then eventually you will notice the progress. You will notice it gets easier, your photos will get better, and it's a very rewarding thing to experience. However, I do believe there's a few strategic decisions you can make that'll speed up the learning process just a little bit. There are a few locations, no matter where you live, where you can go and you'll know there will be plenty of opportunities to take all kinds of photos, but also where there's a kind of challenging element, which is very important because you want to be at a certain difficulty level that challenges you and takes you out of your comfort zone, which helps you improve a little bit faster. So those are the locations that I'm going to talk about today. The first location I want to talk about are markets. So any local market will do, especially if it's for foods, so vegetables and fruits, where you'll know there'll be lots of colors involved. Markets are really great places where you'll know you have plenty of scenes to pick from. Sure, if you're into minimalist photography, a market is not going to be your best bet. However, I personally really love working with colors, and there's a certain skill where you can actually train your eye to find the exceptional scenes within the chaos of colors and people and products, and you'll be able to find combinations of things and compositions that either they work really well or they don't work at all, and these are all things you'll learn from and you'll absorb and you'll take into the rest of your career as a photographer. The second place I would advise you to go is actually a forest or anything similar to that. So it might be a park that has a lot of green or a garden or whatever, but forests are actually, I think, the best locations in terms of technique to really challenge yourself and learn a lot more about photography and how to use your camera. And the reason for saying this is because I think there's a lot of interesting shifting conditions in the forest, and that includes, shadows and light, they're changing all the time, and that includes low light conditions. You sometimes have very, evasive and fast-paced wildlife that you might want to take a shot of. So there's several factors, including the seasons. Every season the forest looks different, and that all gives you so much variety, but also technical challenges that you'll be able to practice a lot of different skills when you go to a forest. So although forests can be enchantingly beautiful, it can be really difficult to translate that beauty into a single photo or just a few photos. So I really recommend going there. I did write a blog post, a quite extensive blog post with essential tips if you're going to photograph a forest, and I'll probably link that in the description as well, so you can go check that out. But yeah, I really recommend it for your technique to go to a forest every once in a while. And the third location I would recommend is actually any busy street in a town or a city, maybe even a village, and you'll have plenty of stuff to work with. The nice thing about cities and streets is that you'll always have some urban features to work with, so that's the buildings, any trains or trams passing by, storefronts, but also lots of people, and that's nice because you can combine these kinds of urban features in your photo with the art of people watching, and then you're not just watching them, you're trying to capture them just in the right way that it says something about the people that live within the city, but also about the city itself and the kind of mood you can translate and what kind of people live there. And it's just a really nice way of storytelling, actually. And of course people will also keep passing by, and every person, has their own character and looks very different. So every photo can tell a very different story, but it's multiple elements combined that create a portrait of a city and its people. And I actually really enjoy that, and I really recommend it to get a better eye for both people and geometric angles and lines, because no matter if it's a historic city or a modern contemporary city, you get different effects. But it's a really nice setting to just play with lines, play with people, play with expressions, combining certain compositions. It's just a really nice place to try all kinds of stuff and just experiment with street shots and maybe a few portraits, just whatever you feel like. So for location number 4, I want to talk about bridges. And even though they might not be the most straightforward location to head to and take a few photos, I personally really like them. Usually when I hang around a bridge for a while, practice some patience, I usually have plenty of material to work with. It's really fun. And again, it's because, there's passers-by, there's traffic, but the bridge, no matter if it's in nature or if it's in a city, because then if it's in a city, it usually has a really interesting architectural style, but even if it's just a simple bridge in nature, it adds this human element to it. And, on top of that, a bridge always has 2 opposing sides. So in case of you want to tell a story, it's also a really interesting aspect. And, usually when there's a bridge, there's a river or a stream, or maybe you're up really high and there's a valley below. There's a lot of natural elements and kind of human elements that'll give you plenty of source material to work with. So the 5th location, train stations, are a bit similar to the bridge because it's another kind of point of intersection where there's lots of people and trains heading in all kinds of directions, and it's a kind of watering hole because there will be plenty of activity going on no matter what time it is. What I actually like most about train stations is that there's always this element of travel or the idea of the journey going on, which means it's an easy way to kind of work movement and emotion into your photos, because you're gonna have trains, you're gonna have people running to catch a train, you're gonna have people or couples saying goodbye to each other. So yeah, yet again, for storytelling, it's a really nice location. The last location I want to recommend to you to practice your photography are lakes and ponds, or generally any reflective body of water, whether that's in nature or whether that's in a city. That actually adds a really nice dimension to your photo whenever there's a reflective surface. I would say go ahead and play with that. Then another smart thing to do if you're going out to capture some photos near a lake or a pond is to time your session really well, and that's either around sunrise, so early in the morning, or sunset, because that's when the sky, is most dramatic and the light is usually most interesting in terms of the colors, and it's also usually the time when animals that might live by the lake, if you're out in nature, tend to be most active. So if you're interested in wildlife photography, that's also a really smart thing to do. So that wraps up the locations I wanted to mention for you to hopefully improve your photography skills a little bit faster and a little bit smarter. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to help you a lot. So let me know if you do go out and change kind of the locations you go to. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, good luck, and talk to you next time.